Welcome everyone. Today we are going to study about model formulation. Okay. So first we will understand basics of linear programming and then we will move to this topic model formulation. Linear programming, as you can see, it comprises of two words. One is linear and another is programming. Okay. What does linear means? Linear means the relationship between the variables, right? Relationship between variables must be linear. If it is linear, then only you can apply the methods of this linear programming. Okay, if it is not linear, then you cannot apply. Next term is programming. Programming means you are converting your problem into the language into another language, right? I can say into another language. Why? Right, nowadays computer and mobiles are common, right? So we all know how computers operate. If we write simply 1 plus 1, then we are going to get answer as 2 in our computer's calculator. Okay, but computer does not understand this 1 2 3. If you all know, computer works on a binary code. It only binary code or binary language, right? It only understands 0 and 1, and from that from this 0 1 0 1 or 1 0, it only understands 0 and 1, and for this 2 it has specific manner. For 3 also it has specific manner, and with the help of that, what we are going to get, what we do is we code all the applications and softwares to perform specific task. Okay, so linear programming, to apply the methods of LPP, what you have to do, you have to first do a linear programming process. Now linear programming process means that you are going to convert your problems into a linear form, and you are going to solve it with the help of LPP, so that you are going to get optimal solutions. So from this, I hope you understand what is LPP, right? What is linear programming and what is LPP. LPP are nothing but LPP are different methods to solve this linear form. Okay, and what we are doing, we are representing our real life problems or into a linear form, and this LPP understands this linear form, and with the help of using the methods of LPP, we are going to get our optimal solution. So if you see the definition, linear programming is a method to achieve best outcome by representing your objectives in a mathematical form, and whose requirements are represented by linear relationships. Okay, so this is about linear programming. Now if you see, you cannot apply this LPP methods, linear programming methods, to all the problems. Okay, so which problems you can apply this LPP methods, that we will see this. If your problem satisfies these conditions, then you can say that you can apply LPP method and you can get the solution. So in this case, if you see, the objective of your, or the goal that you want to achieve, the activities associated with this objective must be identifiable and measurable in quantitative terms. This is really important. Quantitative terms. Okay, whatever your objective is, whatever your activities associated with it, it must be we must be able to represent it in terms of quantity. If you can represent it in terms of quantity, then only you can use LPP methods. If you are unable to solve this, if you are unable to represent it in the form of quantity, then you won't be able to solve with the help of this LPP method. Okay. Next, again, the relationship must be linear, that is objective functions and constraint that you are going to use must be linear in nature. Now, what is objective function? Objective function represents your objective or your goal. Objective function represents your goal. It can be like you want to maximize your profit, right? This is your objective, maximize your profit. So you will have an equation which will represent your this achieving this profit, maximum profit. So this objective function will show that on which factors your profit depends, and then what you are going to do, you are going to apply the methods, and you are going to get a solution which will give you maximum profit. And what are these constraints? Constraints are nothing but they are the limitations. Okay, we will see one by one each and everything in the example. Then resources of the system, right? Whatever resources you are going to use to achieve your goal must be again in quantitative terms, measurable in quantitative terms. And there must be series of feasible alternative courses of action available to the decision maker which are determined by resource constraints. What does it say? It says that suppose you have different constraints, like suppose you are talking about product development. Yeah, you are going to produce a product, then you have raw material as your constraint. Okay, then you have transportation cost to bring the raw materials, then different machines are there. Okay, then you have labors. So all these are going to turn out to be different constraints. So with respect to this, you are going to get different solutions. Suppose you neglect this transportation variable, then considering these three only, you are going to get a different solution. And if you consider all four, then you are going to get a different solution. And by this solution, what will happen is the decision maker, who is the decision maker, the manager or the person who is going to make the product, he will be able to take decision properly by the solution that is available to us. Okay, so main thing over here is that all the things related to your problem must be measurable in quantitative terms. Maybe it is if your objective, your activities, okay, your resources, all must be in quantitative form, and they must be represented in linear form. The relationship between objective, activities and resources must be represented in linear form. Then only you can apply LPP, that is linear programming problems. Model formulation. Okay, in model formulation, what you do is this is a simple step that you need to follow to formulate a model. Now, by doing model, formulating a model, what we are doing is that you have a problem, which is a real life problem, right? Suppose you are in a company and you see that laborers are wasting their time. Laborers are wasting time. So what you will do? You will see that laborers, since laborers are wasting time, you can utilize that time and increase the production, or and which will lead to increase in profit. Okay, so this is one thing that you noticed. Maybe laborers are wasting time because there are less machines, or you can find different variables which are related along with it. Okay, so this is a real life problem that you saw it. Now you are going to formulate this model in the form of mathematical representation, right? What you are going to do, you are going to make a mathematical model of this real life problem, and this mathematical model, right, you are doing is nothing but you are formulating a real life problem into a mathematical form. I hope you are clear. What is model formulation? You are what you are doing is you are representing real life problem real life problem in mathematical form. Okay, so when you represent it in mathematical form, you need to decide the decision variables, right? Decision variables represents the variables which are associated with your objective. Okay, then there are constraints. As I told you, constraints are nothing but limitations or availability, limitations or how much it is available. Then you are going to define the objective function. This objective function represents the relationship of decision variable, relationship or equation. Let me say properly, it is equation. Okay, this objective function is represents the equation of decision variables. And last, all the variables must be non-negative. That means all the variables that you are going to use in the system must be greater than or equal to 0. They cannot have a negative values. So these are the following steps you need to follow to formulate a model. Now let us see an example. Okay, so I would like you to pause the video and read this problem one time, two times until you understand it, and see what you are understanding. Okay, how much you are able to incorporate from this, and when I discuss this, you see how much you are able to get it correctly. Okay, I'll move on, but you can pause the video and you can read the numerical. So here what is it is saying, a firm is engaged in producing two products A and B. So we have two products A and B. Now each unit of product A requires 2 kg of raw material and 4 labor hours. So A requires 2 kg of raw material and 4 labor hours, right? This is what it is saying. Next statement, for processing each unit of product B requires 3 kg of raw material and 3 hours of labor hours. So B requires 3 kg of raw material and 3 kg of labor hours. Okay, every week the firm has an availability of 60 kg of raw material and 96 labor hours. What it is saying, that every week total amount of raw material available is 60 kg and number of labor hours available are 96. Clear? So I am just representing all the data given to me, then we will see how to frame a model. Next, what they are saying is that selling a product A, by selling product A, I am going to get a profit of rupees 40, and by selling product B, I am going to get a profit of rupees 35. And what they are saying, formulate this model as a LPP to determine how many units of each product should be produced. That means you want to make how many products of A and how many products of B such that the firm can earn maximum profit. So from here, one thing is clear, that here our case is a maximization problem, right? Generally there are two cases, maximization and minimization. Here our target is to maximize profit. So first we have to decide decision variables. So decision variables, if you see this question over written over here, how many units of each of product should be produced per week to get maximum profit, from here we can determine our decision variable, that is number of units of A and number of units of B which are to be produced. So we are assuming it to be x1 and x2. Okay, so these two, x1 and x2, will become our decision variable. Okay, so once we decide this decision variable, then we know that by selling one product of x1, I am going to get a profit of rupees 40, and by selling one product of x2, I am going to get a profit of rupees 35. So what is the, if suppose I want to find that how much total profit I am getting, then what I will do, it is done. If I am taking only one unit, then I am going to get 30, sorry, it is 40 plus 35, right? So you can say if I sell one product of A and one product of B, then I'm going to get a profit of 40 plus 35, which is 75. But now we don't know how many products we have to produce. Okay, so how many products of A we have to make? For A we have to make x1 products, and for B we have to make x2 products. So I'll just denote it, this Z is equals to this equation, and this equation is your objective function, right? So as you can see, this objective function comprises of decision variables. This whole equation is known as your objective function, and in that this x1 and x2 are known as your decision variables. Okay, so I'll just remove this. Now if you, once our objective function is defined, we have to make our constraints. So constraints, if you see what they are saying, that 2 kg of raw material is required for A and 3 kg of raw material is required for B, and weekly how much it is available? 60, right? So even however whatever number of products I am producing A and B, I cannot get more than, right? So I can say I can get less than or equal to 60 kg. Okay, what I am saying, that any number of products of I make of A and B, every week maximum I am going to get 60. I am not going to get more than that. That's why I am writing less than or equal to. So for A, how many kg is required? For A, 2 kg is required. For B, 3 kg of required. And how many products we are going to make? For A, we are going to make x1 products, and for B, we are going to make x2 products. So if you see, I just have to add them. So weekly how many units of raw material is required? If I say I am going to only produce 1 unit, then I require 2 plus 3. So this is the amount of raw material I am going to require. Okay, and if this is the amount of raw material I require, then how much is the availability? Availability is that weekly you can get 60 but not more than that. Okay, it is 60 but not more than that. So this will become your constraint 1. This is one constraint we have framed. Okay, now we will see labor hours. Same with labor hours. For A you require 4 hours, and for B you require 3 hours. Okay, so if I say for A I require 4 labor hours, and for B I require 3 labor hours, and total how much I am going to get? 96, and weekly available is only 96, not greater than not greater than 96. So I can say less than or equal to. So again for x1 I know I am going to make x1 products, and for B I am going to make x2 products. So this has to be less than or equal to 96. Okay, so this is your constraint 2. Now if you see, we have used all the data. This profit, the profit that which was given to you is used for making objective function. This data is used to make constraint. Okay, so I will just write down the final model that we obtained. Okay, the final model we can write as maximize Z is equals to 40x1 plus 35x2. Okay, which is subjected to, your constraints are written in this form, subjected to 2x1 plus 3x2 is less than or equal to 60, and 4x1 plus 3x2 is less than or equal to 96. Okay, so this is how you formulate a model from the given data. So this data was given to me, and from that I have formulated this model. Okay, so here you can say that this z equation represents what it is representing. This is representing profit that you are going to get, right? This equation represent constraint, but it is constraint of raw material, and this equation represents again constraint, but it is a labor hours. So this is how you formulate a model from the given data. Okay, so after seeing the example, now let us go towards writing the general statement of LPP. Okay, so first I will take a help of a maximization case. Okay, so first we will write down general statements. Okay, general statement for LPP. Now there are different forms in which we are going to represent it, so I'll just go step by step each and everything. So first I am saying that I have to maximize, right? If I have to maximize, then this is my objective function. Now objective function, if you see, it comprises of two things. One is coefficient and another is variable. So here I can say C1 x1 is my first term, C2 x2, same way C3 x3, and up to Cn xn. Remember, we are writing it for general terms, so we are always going to consider n terms. So this is my maximize z is equals to C1 x1 up to Cn xn. Now it is subjected to some constraint, so I will write down subjected to. So in constraints, generally when it is a maximization case, we know that in case of, I hope you now get that in case of maximization case, generally it is less than or equal to consideration for constraints, and in minimization case it is generally greater than or equal to. So for generalization purpose we will use this concept. Okay, so if I say in case of constraint also we have again coefficients, right? Coefficient and these variables only, right? We represent in these variables, these are our decision variables, so everywhere they are going to come. So if I say that a11 is the coefficient for constraint 1, again a12 x2 plus a13 x3 up to a1n xn is equals to b1, right? I have just generalized it this. If you remember our maximization problem, then I will just write down again. Maximization was z is equals to 40x1 plus 35x2, and it was subjected to 2x1 plus 3x2 is less than or equal to 60, and 4x1 plus 3x2 is less than or equal to 96. So we are just representing this numerical form in our symbolic form, that is a11 a12. Similarly, if I write down for second constraint, then it is a21, right, x1 plus a22 x2, a23 x3, so on up to a2n xn, and that will be equals to b2. For how long I can keep going? Till m terms, right? I can say a into m1 x1 plus a m2 x2 plus a m3 x3, so on up to a mn xn, and this last term will be equals to bm. Okay, these are the terms we are going to take. So this is how you represent it in the equation form, and here last condition is your non-negativity condition that you have to describe. So it will be x1 x2 x3 up to xn should be greater than or equal to 0, right? Why I have taken only x1 x2 up to xn? Because this c and this a terms, these are your going to be your numerical values because they are coefficients of this variable. C1 is the coefficient of this x1. Again, A11 is coefficient of x1. A12 is coefficient of ax2, right? So these are nothing but your coefficients. So they are going to be numerical values, and these are your variables. Okay. Now these equations which I have written down over here, I can represent it in different form also. That is total summation form. Okay. So now I know don't need this. So I'll just remove this. If you observe this our z function, it is only having two things, right? One is c and another is x. And if you observe, when c is 1, x is 1, c is 2, x is 2, so I can say it is ci xi such that I is equals to 1 to n. So in this form also I can represent, right? This is maximization z again, and subjected to, again this is, if you see here, a1 is common and the second parameter that is changing 1 2 3, so I can say summation of such that a1i, okay, a1i xi, because these two are only changing, this one is constant, this one I am writing here first, that is constant. Okay, summation of all a1i xi such that I is equals to 1 to n is equals to b1. Okay, if I write down for second, then again summation I is equals to 1 to n, and a2 will come over here. Okay, xi is equals to b2, and so on, such that we are going to get summation I is equals to 1 to n a into m I x I is equals to bm. Now this also we can generalize. This all we are writing as different equations, but these also we can generalize. In this case, if you see, this I and this I are remaining constant. The changing term is this 1, 2 up to m. So instead of this 3 equation, I have to represent in only one equation, then I can write it in this form. Sigma I is equals to 1 to n and j is equals to 1 to m such that a of j I x of I is equals to b of j. So I have represented all this in only one equation. So now if you take 1 1, right, we'll take just an example so that you are clear with it. Let us substitute value of 1 1, I is 1 and j is 1. So what will I get? A 1 1 x1 is equals to b1, right? We are taking all values to be 1 only. 1 to n means 1 1 only. Okay, so this is how you are going to get. If you take I is equals to 2 but j is equals to only 1, then here you are going to get a1 to x2, because I value varies from 1 to 2. Okay, so this is the generalized form for all of this. Now this, there are another form in which you can represent, that is the matrix form. Okay, so in matrix form I can simply say that if I have to represent it in matrix form, then I can say maximize z is equals to cx, where c and x are matrix, right? This c will comprise of a matrix and x will comprise of a matrix. Now c will be your row matrix and x will be your column matrix. When you multiply, you are going to get this. Same way, it is subjected to ax is less than or equal to b. where again A, X and B all are your in matrix form, and all your variables X is greater than equal to 0. So this is how you represent it in matrix form, right? This is in the equation form, this whole thing that we did first. This is the equation form, generalized equation form. Then we represented it in the summation form, and this is the matrix form. So this is how you generalize the statement of LPP. So linear programming can be generalized in this form.